Ultamize. If you want to immediately improve your ability to stay focused, do this. Move your phone out of your arm's reach before you start working. Not silent, not face down, physically out of reach. For example, if your phone is sitting next to you while you work, you'll check it. Maybe not right away, maybe not every minute, but eventually you will. It lights up. You feel a vibration, or you think about it and your hand moves automatically. But if your phone is across the room, or better yet, in a completely different room, something changes. Now, checking it requires effort. You have to stand up, you have to walk over there. And most of the time, that small amount of effort is enough to stop you. That's the difference between willpower and design. Most people try to manage their time using willpower. They tell themselves, I need to focus. I need to be disciplined. I need to stop procrastinating. And sometimes that works. For example, you sit down and push yourself to focus for 20 minutes. You resist distractions. You stay on task. You feel good about it, but then something small happens. You get tired, you get bored, you get interrupted, and your focus starts to slip. That's because willpower is not a constant resource. It goes up and down throughout the day. Early in the morning, you might feel focused and clear, but by the afternoon, after making dozens, if not hundreds of decisions, responding to messages, dealing with interruptions, your mental energy is lower. When your energy is lower, your ability to rely on willpower is weaker. That's why people often start the day with great intentions and the end of the day feeling like they lost control. It's not a character flaw, it's how the brain works. The mistake is building a system that depends on willpower working perfectly all day long. That system will always fail. The alternative is to build a system that reduces the need for willpower. For example, instead of trying to resist checking your phone, you remove it from your workplace. I know I've said it before. I know it's repetitive, but it is perhaps the single most important thing for you to do to really regain control of your time. Instead of trying to force yourself to start a task, you define the exact first step so clearly that starting becomes easy. For example, instead of hoping you'll ignore distractions, you'll reduce the number of distractions that can reach you in the first place. Each of these changes removes pressure from your willpower. And when willpower is not constantly being used, it becomes more effective when you actually need it. Think about it this way. If every decision you make requires effort, you'll run out of energy quickly. But if many of your decisions are already made in advance or made easier by your environment, you conserve energy. If you already know exactly what your first task is when you sit down to work, you don't waste time deciding. For example, if your workspace is already set up and ready, you don't waste time preparing. If distractions are already reduced, you don't waste energy resisting them. This creates momentum, and momentum is far more powerful than willpower. Because once you start moving in the right direction, it becomes easier to keep going in that direction. The key shift is this: stop asking, how can I be more disciplined? Start asking, how can I make this easier to do? Because when something's easy to start, you start more often. And when you start more often, you make more progress. For example, if your task feels complicated, you delay. But if your task is broken down into a simple first step, you can begin. If your environment is full of distractions, you will struggle. But if your environment supports focus, you work more easily. These are small adjustments, but they completely change how your day feels. Instead of constantly fighting yourself, you begin working with a system that supports you. And that's the goal. Not to become a person with unlimited willpower, but to become a person who does not need to apply willpower nearly as often.